All right, what's going on, everybody? You are back with another edition of Team Talk. As always, I'm your host, Caleb James. And here, we're just a few days before the start of the regular season, but I thought I'd go through the 2020 NFL schedule for your Chiefs. And I figured I'd give a little breakdown, some predictions, kind of talk about the matchups. So let's get started. But before we do, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you're going and checking out all the great content that we have to put up on you know, YouTube, like right here, Twitter, and of course, all the great articles over at the website. So let's get started. And let me see if I can get it moving here. All right, it's stuck for some reason. Let's see. Oh, there we go. All right. Week 1 at Arizona. That's the game we've all been highly looking forward to for a long time now. Highly anticipated matchup. And I got the Chiefs winning this one 37-17. And, maybe some of you guys are saying, man, that's a really wide margin of victory. I don't think these teams are very close on the level of talent. Yes, Arizona has a big name quarterback. Yes, they have some weapons, but, their number one weapon's DeAndre Hopkins, and he's out right now with, that suspension. And then you've got Kyler Murray, who, he is a great quarterback. He's going to be a very good player in the league. But I just think that, one of the issues with him is you saw all the noise in the offseason. Well, now he's without some of his guys. They don't really have, a ton of continuity with him and Hollywood Brown yet, or Rondell Moore, who they traded for. So, you know, I just really think this is going to be a game where the Chiefs come out. And also, if you look at the defensive side of the ball for Arizona, their cornerback room is just decimated with injury right now. They have several backups. They lost their best defensive player, their pass rusher from last year, Chandler Jones. They have a couple of young linebackers in Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons, who may pose somewhat of a threat. But in the end, I just think the Chiefs outmatch them in too many areas. I think the Cardinals' offensive line struggles at times. I think the Chiefs' defensive line will get off to a hot start. They've got a lot to prove. So give me the Chiefs winning comfortably in this one down in the desert to open the season. And that takes us into the big week 2 matchup versus the Chargers at Arrowhead. It'll be a Thursday night football. It is going to be an electric atmosphere for this one. And I'm going to take the Chiefs by 3 points. And the reason for this is because Justin Herbert showed to me last year he is an elite level quarterback, as good as they come. And the Chargers did go out. They acquired Khalil Mack. They acquired J.C. Jackson. But I still think the Chiefs are at the pinnacle of the AFC West. And I think that even though the Chargers went out and made these trades, the Chiefs added new pieces also. Yes, they lost Tyreek Hill in the trade, but they get better in other spots. And I think some of those spots they got better at, like cornerback, are positions that the Chargers specifically targeted them at last year because they were weak, you know. So I like the Chiefs to look improved in this one. I think the Chargers, they're already saying J.C. Jackson has already had surgery on his foot. That's never a good thing whenever you got a guy getting surgery preseason and trying to come back. I think the Chiefs are able to dominate. I don't think the Chargers have the greatest linebacking core in the world. And I think we're going to see, the Chargers, they're one of these teams that they're banking on the Chiefs having these long passing patterns, so they need time for their pass rush to develop. I think we're going to see the ball come out of Patrick Mahomes' hands real quick early on in the season. I'm talking hyper quick. If you can think back to, for example, like the 2016, 2017 Patriots with Tom Brady, the ball's out of his hand in almost less than 2 seconds every play, just because he's so keyed into his read. There's going to be so many different guys to go around. I think this will definitely be a week where we see, the pass rush have to play some kind of an impact. This new speed at linebacker trying to track down Herbert in the backfield. So it should be a fun one, but give me the Chiefs by 3 points. I also think the Chiefs offensive line will dominate the run game in this one. Week 3 at Indianapolis. I like the Chiefs also in this one, 35-21. The Colts are just playing musical chairs at quarterback at this point. Last year it's Carson Wentz. He throws them out of the playoffs in that last game. This year they go to Matt Ryan, who has had a significantly better career than Wentz does, but there are question marks that, yes, he has been carried largely through his career by having elite offensive talent. And, he wasn't about to have Calvin Ridley in Atlanta this year before the trade. likewise, he's had Julio Jones most of his career. He comes to a team that they do have Jonathan Taylor. Their main emphasis in Indy is going to be able to run the ball. I think this week will be a tremendous test for the Chiefs to really see just how much the linebacker plays improved, as well as the ability to stop the run. It'll be probably a big week for Justin Reed to come down and play in the box to try to contain Jonathan Taylor. All in all, though, I do think the Chiefs are going to win this one. I still think the Colts have some weaknesses in their secondary that they didn't quite get addressed, and their defensive line is kind of starting to lose pieces. They still have DeForest Buckner and they still have Leonard Williams in their linebacking core, but I just don't think offensively they'll have the guns to keep up with Kansas City. And I think that, the Colts are a team that's given the Chiefs a little bit of trouble in the past. I think Andy will be comfortable with the plan that he comes up with in this one. So I like the Chiefs to get off to a nice 3-0 start. And then week 4 at Tampa, I really think this is going to be the game where this new look Chiefs offense really puts themselves out there for everyone to see. This is a revenge game for the Chiefs. This is a game that I'm sure Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes have both been looking forward to, as well as Travis Kelce. Haven't even mentioned him yet in this. But I also think it's going to be a chance for the defense to show what they can do versus Tampa, more specifically the pass rush. I mean, I did give the Bucks 21. It's hard to discredit Tom Brady. He always does find a way to make plays when you don't think he will. But I would really like to see the Chiefs defensive line, Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Dunlap, Karlaftis, the entire gang. I would love to see them get together and be able to, this weakened Tampa Bay offensive line due to injury. I'd like them to see them be able to gang up and get in there and get after Brady if it is, in fact, the last time the Chiefs will see him. And then defensively, maybe the Buccaneers come out and try to do what they did in the Super Bowl a couple years ago. That'd be foolish because it's nearly a completely it's a brand new roster from that game outside of, Mahomes and Kelce. I think the Chiefs will probably try to go at them a little bit. I think Andy will probably leave everything out there, empty the playbook a little bit. Bruce Arians had some comments at their parade kind of about the organization the Chiefs run and some of that stuff. So I assume that, Bruce Arians is still there. Todd Bowles is the head coach now, but Bruce Arians is still there in some capacity. I'm sure Andy's going to try to get the last laugh in this one. And, give me the Chiefs as double digits in this one as well. And then week 5 versus Vegas at home, Monday Night Football. You guessed it. I'm taking the Chiefs 42-27. Yes, the Raiders added Chandler Jones and Devontae Adams this offseason, but they neglected a few key areas. They neglected to build a strong offensive line. They just cut Alex Leatherwood. They've missed like crazy on draft picks, and their secondary is still just flat out not good. I mean, they are still just lacking talent in their secondary. And that's not something you can have when you're playing against the Chiefs. You can have great pass rushers, but the Chiefs have built up a very good offensive line to be able to combat stuff just like this. So now they're kind of in a spot where, they were a playoff team last year. They were the Raiders. The Chiefs beat them by almost 20 points every time they played them. I mean, they were scoring 40 a game on the Raiders. I don't think that changes that much this year, despite the coaching changes with McDaniels in there now. And then week 6, the highly anticipated rematch versus Buffalo, the 13-second game. The media has seemed to crown Buffalo the champions before we've even seen the season start. But I would just like to point out, though, there are some factors that we need to look into. The Chiefs were up double digits in this game versus Buffalo at one point, and it took some miraculous plays from the Bills to even get themselves back into the game to eventually go down and take the lead before the 13 seconds. And what if last year was just a flash in a pan for Buffalo? I mean, yeah, they go out and they get Von Miller in the offseason, but Von Miller, outside of playing with Aaron Donald, hasn't made a major impact. Obviously, Josh Allen is the man, and that's why I've got this being a 7-point game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very close contest. But I would like to see this game, this kind of starts to maybe be the coming out party a little bit for the new defense, for some of the young guys. because we're going to need those. They're going to need those guys to step up in big games like this. Yeah, we got Mahomes, Kelsey, Hill's not here anymore, but for this rookie class, this is where you really want to see Trent McDuffie step up and make plays. This is where you want to see Karlaftis and Chenal trying to chase down Allen. This is where you'd like to see Sky Moore and Pacheco, have making some significant plays on the field is in this contest right here. The game is at home. Arrowhead's going to be absolutely rocking. Another Mahomes versus Allen matchup. It should be great football. Give me the Chiefs by 7. And then I do think the Chiefs are going to start out the season hot, but I do think that they're going to run into an old nemesis in the 49ers and be a rematch of the Super Bowl from 2020. But I think the Niners will give the Chiefs their first loss of the season. I think Kyle Shanahan will be very hungry. And I think, honestly, for the 49ers, this could be a little bit of a coming out game for Trey Lance. Maybe they slow play it early on in the season. I know Jimmy G is still around. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Could end up being a revenge game for Jimmy G. But Nick Bosa, those guys are gonna be hungry to get the Chiefs back here, and the Chiefs are gonna be coming off of just an electric game versus the Bills. I predict a couple games back to back versus the Bucks and Bills. They may be a little banged up, a little tired before the bye, having to travel to San Fran, the West Coast. I think the 49ers win a close one, but I don't think it'll be a game where you see, it's going to be probably pretty back and forth, kind of a contrasting styles of offense. I think Deebo Samuel will probably get off just based on, I think, how many reps the Chiefs guys are going to be playing getting into this one. And then we go to the bye, 6-1 at the bye. That'll probably be at the top of the AFC at that point. And then we go week 9 versus Tennessee. And this is really where I think the Chiefs kind of start to flex this new defense a little bit. This is where you can maybe start seeing the impact that another year Nick Bolton and Willie Gay having in the system could give them another advantage. This is where you're going to start to see Justin Reed become comfortable, McDuffie become comfortable, L'Jarius Sneed step back up into his role. And the Titans got after us last year. They gave it to them. I'm looking for them to come in here and bottle up Henry, but now hopefully with some of these new pass rushers, hopefully Chris Jones took it personal last year that they didn't really do anything defensively versus the Titans except for let them get carved down the field. So I think they hold them. I think they hold Henry in check. And, the Titans are one of those teams that could be up and down this season. I'm not going to count out Mike Vrabel. I think he's a good coach, but it feels like the Chiefs are going to be due one. And then defensively, I can still see it being a Travis Kelce fest. Their linebacker play is okay in Tennessee, not great, but really the issues were last year with this game where the Chiefs were just trying to throw it as deep as they could down the field every time. And really, Tennessee's a team you kind of almost just want to nickel and dime to death. If you see some of the games, get your explosive play. I think maybe they'll get an explosive MVS play here or there, but you got to set it up. You can't do it every play. And then week 10 versus Jacksonville at home. This will be a good get-right game. After, coming off of the win versus the Titans, the bye, the team should be healthy, well refreshed. This game, I want Trevor Lawrence to do well, and I think Doug Peterson and Trevor Lawrence will do well. There's just so many holes in that Jacksonville roster. I mean, their defense outside of maybe the defensive line is just a joke right now. It's not been a well-run organization. That's no knock against Doug Peterson. But, offensively, Travis Etienne, hopefully he has a good year, but it won't be this week. I think the Chiefs are going to start, they're really going to be rolling this one. This will be a great game. This will be a game probably everyone gets to play in, to be honest. Everyone that dresses, this will be one of those kinds of games. Hopefully, we see Bichelle or Chad Henne take the field late in the game. And then week 11 at the Chargers, I'm going to give the Chargers the 7-point advantage. They'll be the home team in this one. They'll be out for revenge after that. And really, it'll be a must-win game for the Chargers because looking at their schedule, they don't play in an easy schedule either. So I think this will be more than likely for them. This will be a must-win situation. So they'll be willing to go all out. And, maybe Justin Herbert just gets the better of Mahomes this time. Maybe the Chiefs defense misses on a stop here or there. It's so hard to pick this far down the line who's going to do what because you don't know about injuries, acquisitions in the season, or, even guys that just players that just come out of nowhere, what kind of impact those guys are going to have. But for all intent, just for the sake of keeping it interesting, I'll give the Chargers this one. And then big week 12 matchup versus the Rams at home at Arrowhead. Give me the Chiefs 42, the Rams 35. The last time we saw the Chiefs play the Rams, it was a completely nonstop, action filled show that I think to a lot of people sparked the start of, you know, the deep ball era of the NFL, which I guess we're technically in right now, of teams just looking to air it out and create explosive plays time after time. The Chiefs went back and forth with them. Mahomes was incredible, but he had some turnovers. The defense couldn't stop anything. Big matchup this game. I want to see the Chiefs offensive line taking on, that whole Rams defense and everything that they have going for them down there. Aaron Donald, maybe the greatest defensive player of all time versus the Chiefs offensive line. That's going to be the matchup to watch. Rams have a very good pass rush. At this point in the season, they may have even acquired another pass rusher or so. Maybe the Chiefs have as well. But I think the Chiefs will just edge them out slightly at home. Mahomes versus Stafford. Give me Mahomes all day. This is going to be a test, though, for that Chiefs, the Chiefs secondary. This is going to be one of those games for that young unit. It's going to be, this is going to be the marker. How good is Trent McDuffie actually as a rookie? What about Josh Williams? Is Snead the guy we think he is? Is Juan Thornhill going to play at an all-pro level? This will be the game where we get to see those guys actually go out and compete versus perhaps the best receiver core in the NFL. And then week 13, this is a game I'm specifically looking forward to. I know a lot, the Bills, Rams, the Chargers, that draws a lot of attention, but this is the one I'm looking forward to because this is the game that the Chiefs gave away twice last year against this team. And this time, I don't think it happens again. You saw the Chiefs jump out to big leads early in both games for Cincinnati, and then they just could not finish games. They're not going to let that happen this year. The motto for this team this year has to be finish games. They got exposed twice by the Bengals last year, once on the road, and then once in the AFC Championship game. When they play the Bengals this year, there cannot be any let up. They need to be playing their A game. They need to jump on them from the start. Thankfully, I think they will be able to. Cincinnati's improved their offensive line a little bit, but they didn't really add any more weapons. And, their defense, outside of a few draft picks here or there, to me, remains largely the same as what it was. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are going to be the electric combination along with T. Higgins. That's just, that's going to be what you have to contain. But is there any reason the Chiefs shouldn't put up 30 on the defense that they have? No, especially after last year when, the Chiefs offensive line put together two of their best games of the season. And it simply came down to the Chiefs didn't want to run the ball enough to give them a chance to carry the game away. So, this is going to be the game that I'm looking forward to seeing maybe the most on the entire schedule because I just want to see how the team reacts. And if they come out, this will be the game where we kind of know what kind of team we have. If they can come out and beat the Bengals by double digits, you're looking at a team that's got a chance to go a long way in the playoffs. Then week 14 at Denver, I hate to do it, but you can't beat a team for forever. You just can't do it. Even when the Chiefs were at their very worst, they'd always manage to find a win here or there for someone competitive. And, having Russell Wilson's going to help that. This could, I'm not sure how Denver's going to do this season. It's so up in the air with them. They're missing pieces they're starting to miss some pieces here and there, but Russell Wilson, that offense looks like it could be potent. Give them the 3 points. They'll finally beat them. This could be like their Super Bowl. They might be in wild card contention. This probably a must-win game for them. But, it pains me to say it, but I mean, it's so hard. If the Chiefs beat them twice again this year, they've beat them 16 straight times or something crazy like that. That is absurd. That's like over a decade. That's close to a decade of dominance right there. We'll give Denver at least one, and their fans will parade around, act like it's the Super Bowl. Week 15 at Houston, the Chiefs are going to blow them out of the water, 35-14. And, the Texans are likely going to be in another rebuild here soon. They're likely tanking for a quarterback right now. They're a team that doesn't look like they're shaping up to do much of anything. I think the Chiefs keep it pretty vanilla. I think they pull and rest a lot of the starters later on. Week 16 is Seattle, same thing. The Seahawks might have the worst defense in the NFL this year. I think it's very possible. They've got a couple of good young bookend tackles in Charles Cross and Abraham Lucas. But outside of that, that offense is a disaster also. They got DK Metcalf. Who knows? He could be traded by that point if they think they can get good draft return. All in all, this will be another game where hopefully the Chiefs get their backups in and, they're getting their guys some well-needed rest later on. Week 17 versus Denver at home. I think the Chiefs come out, exact their revenge. This will be kind of one of those games where I think Andy's going to keep the starters in the game most of the time. Especially at this point, if they're competing for the 1 seed, they're going to want to come out here and win convincingly and then try to slow play it the rest of the way. And then week 18 at Las Vegas. It's funny. I've got the Chiefs winning by double digits, but the way you see the NFL set up the schedule, it is intriguing. They only play the Broncos the last half of the month, and the last game of the season just happens to be at Las Vegas. If you remember the end of the NFL season last year, the last game was between the Raiders and the Chargers in Las Vegas, and it was just a classic game all the way around. Could we be seeing a repeat of that? I don't quite think so. I just don't think the Raiders are going to be able to get back. I don't think their defenses move the needle as much. Derek Carr is Derek Carr, and we'll see how he looks throwing it to Devontae Adams. But overall, the final record, I got the Chiefs going 14-3. I think they're going to get the number 1 seed of the AFC and shock a lot of people. I do think, the team MVP, you'd be crazy not to give it to Patrick Mahomes at this point. He'll probably win Offensive Player of the Year also, if not for Travis Kelce. And really, this is a season where you sit around and he's getting discredited here and there. Wouldn't going 14-3 and grabbing the 1 seed in the AFC and heading into the playoffs with all the momentum just be something that would just be a giant middle finger to everyone that's been criticizing him all offseason? Some very some of it's warranted and then some of it's crazy. Like the performance at the end of the AFC Championship game, the criticism is warranted. Discrediting him as not even a top 10 player and the top 10 quarterback in the league. Get real. Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to give it to Nick Bolton. I think we see him fully take on the aspect, all the leadership aspects. He's going to be the team leader on defense this year. He's going to take on that role. And man, watching him move this preseason, he looks faster. He looks sharper. He's an instinctual guy, man. Man, all that stuff, the jumping and the cones and everything that he got criticized for at the combine, all that stuff last year, you cannot replicate. I'm being serious. You cannot replicate football instinct in any of those drills. And he has whatever it is he has. Most improved player, I think Clyde's going to bounce back. I think he'll have a much better season than last year, move the needle. Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm going to give it to Isaiah Pacheco. Like you see here, I think him and Clyde get a little lightning and thunder combination going, and they pretty much will lead that back by committee. Not many people mentioning his name, but I think that Trent McDuffie will be the Chiefs' Defensive Rookie of the Year. George Karlaftis is getting a lot of love early in the preseason. I'm not going to take anything away from him, but the Chiefs did trade up 3 picks to get Trent McDuffie, and he has looked exceptional so far in the preseason. I think that he'll be one of those guys that he'll be quiet, but he's always going to be there. He'll make a big play when you need it. And that'll bring me to, towards the end of the video, guys. Thanks everyone for tuning in and listening. This was fun. 14-3. I'm sure we would all just love it if the Chiefs had that record headed into the playoffs. And, who knows how any of it's going to go. This is just something fun to try to do, to break down the games, to kind of see where they stand. Obviously, it's going to be the hardest schedule in the history of the team. But you know what? The harder the schedule is in the regular season, the more adversity they have in the regular season, the easier it is to overcome all that come playoff time. I've had a great time. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. Go follow me on Twitter at CJ Scoobs. Go follow Arrowhead Live on Twitter. And as always, everybody, keep on keeping on.